In this video, I'll be showing you how to cut out the 10 easy and fun paper snowflake patterns that you can buy at papersnowflakeart.com. These are fun for all ages and they're pretty simple and straightforward. The only thing that you'll need, so you'll purchase them as a PDF online, so you will need a printer or you can take them somewhere to have them printed. And I recommend when you're printing your patterns out, see if you can have them full size rather than fit them to the page. So if you have the ability to adjust that, make them take up as much space on the page as possible. These are designed to be 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I know some people are printing on slightly different sizes of paper, so just do your best to fill as much of the page as possible. You'll need a pair of scissors and 2 different size hole punches. We've got the 1/4 inch circle and the 1/8 inch circle. So some of the patterns use a slightly larger hand punch and some are slightly smaller. You'll see that as we go along. And I'll show you the patterns. We have butterfly, pizza, which is one of my kids' favorites. These are pine trees, turtle, smiley face, simple snowman, angel, a sunshine, rocket ship, and a flower. What I love about these patterns is that you can adjust them as you'd like. You can color them when you're done. You could add more details if you wanted to try out something that's a little bit more detailed. Maybe you could cut on the inside of your pine tree. They're just really fun to experiment with. So you can start here as a base, and then you can always add on your own special touch. When you're ready to do one of the patterns, you'll follow the directions at the bottom, and I'll show you how to do them in real time. You'll first start by folding across this middle hamburger fold, as my kids say. And you'll see that there's numbers. 2 goes on top of 2. So that's going to fold up like that. I put a finger right down at the crease and then line it up perfectly. Press it nice and crisp. Then 3 will go on top of 3. So the same thing, it comes up and on top like that. They stack. And finally 4 on top of 4, they come together. So line your edges up, make sure you have a nice sharp point. Sometimes I use my fingernail to kind of get that point really crisp. When you finish, just press down nice and hard on the edges so that they're flat. It'll make them a little bit easier to cut. And then you'll see there's this shaded pattern on one side. You can trim that extra paper off the top. And then you'll cut around the edges, cut away the gray, leave the white, and that's all you have to do. For the smiley face snowflake, it's pretty quick to cut out. This hole punch is a 1/4 inch, so if you have a 1/4 inch hand punch, you just line it right up over the eye and it should fit pretty well. When you're hole punching your snowflakes, remember that you're going through 12 layers of paper at the same time, so you might need to double up on the hands or get somebody with some extra grip strength. Sometimes the larger hole punches are a little bit harder to do than the smaller too. Then cut out the mouth. When I cut snowflakes, I always try to hold the edge pretty tight so that it doesn't slide around. And then you trim off the outside part. You've got your face. Let's open it up. This is definitely one of the sillier snowflakes, which makes it a hit. There he is. For the simple snowman paper snowflake, we need one hole punch. It's the 1/8 inch hole punch. So we'll start, I always start with the hole punches just to get them kind of out of the way. You'll line it right up with the eye, punch through, and then I like to do the smallest details first. So I'll do the mouth and then the buttons. The mouth is pretty skinny, so just go kind of across the top as best you can, and then the bottom. And you just kind of have to pick it out. The buttons are diamond shape when they're unfolded. You can also experiment with other shapes there if you'd like. You could do hearts or circles, but I find that diamonds are pretty easy to cut. The reason this is called the simple snowman is because his arm is just a stick. It doesn't have fingers or mittens or anything else like that that's more complicated. I have another pattern and the snowman has branch fingers. So just kind of go carefully, make sure that these, the stick hands aren't sliding around when you cut so that you don't amputate one of them. And then you just need to trim the bottom. So there's our snowman. Here it is unfolded. And there it is all together. One thing that's fun to do with this snowman is that you could use a marker or crayon to color on, give him a little decor, a scarf, or if you are experimenting with cutting and you print out another pattern, you could try giving him a hat and you could just make it a little bit more elaborate. But this is a really good base to start with. For the angel snowflake, you just need a pair of scissors. I always start with the heart on the inside. I like to finish with the outside. Sometimes you can go all the way around in one swipe. Make sure you've got a little bit of paper there to be the inner tip of the heart. Sometimes you might want to come up from the bottom and then curve around the top if that's easier for you to cut. When you cut the rest of the snowflake out, check right here. If you've folded it and you're a little bit off with your fold, you just want to make sure that this part of the snowflake here comes right up to the design, the white part comes right up to the fold, and you can even leave a little bit right here at the tip of the wings that you won't cut off because otherwise your angels will come apart. So you'll see that there's just a little bit of paper there that holds it all together, but that little bit of paper is very important. So depending on your fold, you might need to add a little room there. Heads are tricky, so I like to get them out of the way first before the paper can start shifting around. I leave a little bit of that fold right there just to keep it a little more secure. And down here, same thing. And let's unfold. Very sweet little angel snowflake. For our butterfly snowflake pattern, we use the 1/8 hand punch to make those decorative dots. And then you'll want to pay attention to where your pattern meets the fold. It's here on the edge of the wing and down here too, to make it a little bit more structurally sound. So I always begin with a hole punch. Let's do that. And you'll just go up the whole thing. Eventually, you'll get to a point where you can't reach from one side anymore. Flip it around and go from the other side. This is one thing I like about having the patterns, is it shows you right where to go to keep them kind of nice and tidy. The next trickiest part of the butterfly is the antenna, which you don't want to cut off. It can happen if your paper starts to slide around. So I like to get that done first. And one easy way to do it would be to come all the way up like that to the top, come around the corner, hold it nice and tight so it doesn't slide, and then pivot your scissors to go up over the wing. Come around that there. There. That way, that pivoting helps you to keep that cut exactly where it is. And if you were to come this way, you'd have to find it, and sometimes you find it on some of your layers and not the rest. So if you can, same thing like right here. You could go here and then come up and find it. Sometimes if I'm able to, I just pivot the paper right around. And then we'll finish along the bottom. On the fold like this, it's sometimes easier to come at it without the pivot. There we go. There's our butterfly. Another fun one to color, or watercolor. Decorate any time of the year. For the rocket ship snowflake, you actually have a choice here if you want to do a hole punch, or you could cut out these little design elements with scissors. I think hole punches are a little bit easier to get that small of a round circle on, and this one is designed to be the 1/4 inch circle hand punch. So if you're going that route, you'll just line it up halfway, press hard, get your grip strength going. And it's a little easier to cut them out that way. But you could also do it with scissors, just go around in a circle. Then you just trim the outer edge. And there's your rocket. For the sunshine snowflake, you only need scissors, and it's perfect for beginners because you could even make these pretty straight cuts with kid scissors. Start with the inside here. The only real tip is to just not cut through. So just get down as far as you can and then pivot. Check that you have enough space over here that you're not going to cut all the way to the fold. And then on this one, I think I'm going to come at it from here. There's our sunshine. The pizza snowflake is the one that's going to really give you that grip and forearm strength, because you're going to cut all of these out with a 1/4 circle hand punch. So just line them up. This one might be a little easier to get from this side. If you had another style of hand punch, like I know they make rectangular ones, you could play around with adding in some rectangular pieces too if you wanted to, or smaller holes, whatever you feel like you want to add to your pizza. Next, we're cutting out the line of the crust. So just kind of hold it nice and steady, go across the top, and then go across the bottom. Then you are almost done. Round your corner, come down, and then you're coming down, but you're not cutting the whole fold off, because that edge of the fold right here is what keeps your whole snowflake together. So you're stopping kind of down at the end. And then you have your pizza. For the flower snowflake, we just need scissors. You'll start by cutting out the middle of your petals. Just make sure that your paper's not sliding around as you cut down. You just kind of have to hold the edge of it so that it doesn't slip. Same thing here. Sometimes the paper does like to slide just because there's so many layers. So just try to hold it, pinch it tight, especially as you go around the curves. On the sea turtle snowflake, there's a few things to point out. One is that it actually has an eye, so if you can add that into your cut, that's even better. But if it's too hard to make that little notch, don't even worry about it. Also, look at the size of the connections. They're pretty small against the fold, so you'll just want to be careful that your fold, when you cut through, that you don't cut all the way through that fold. So give it a little extra space. Usually I cut the middle and then I do the outside, but on the sea turtle, I'm going to start with the head. So just give it a little bump for the eye. And the reason that you normally start with the inside is because that's usually where all the details are. This one has a pretty simple inside and the details are more on the outside. So I just want to be careful here about this seam on the fold. And the foot is a little bit more connected. So even if you go through the flipper, the foot should keep you connected, but I like to have a couple points of stabilization. So if you hang them, they don't get floppy. And then you just need to do the inside. Another option would be to not cut out the inside. You can open it up and you can decorate the inside of the shell with markers or watercolors, stickers, whatever you want to do. You could try some both ways and see what you think. With our pine tree snowflake pattern, you'll see we have one in positive space and one in negative space, so that when it's unfolded, it will kind of alternate the positive and negative space all the way around. So this one is a little bit more detailed to cut, especially this section, so we're going to do that first. Sometimes it's easier to get some of the extra paper out of the way, so you could even cut all the way over here just to open it up a little bit more so that this piece can come out. And then you can come on down, keep going. And then I like to start up here and work my way down, because this is one of those times that I just keep my scissors in and I pivot the snowflake around. And because we made that line down there, I can just remove that. So again, you come in, kind of tilt it and pivot. Sometimes you have to give it just a little bit of a cut to allow it to turn. So that is cut out. Let's do this side. Much easier. Then come across here and a flat bottom to your trunk. Okay, let's play Guess That Snowflake. I'll hold one up and you see if you can guess. I'll start with the easiest. We know what this one is, right? about this one? Thank you for following along and cutting out these paper snowflakes with me. If you like this pattern pack, you can find the whole thing at papersnowflakeart.com. And please subscribe and share this video.